الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى والمؤمنون والمؤمنات بعضهم أولياء بعض يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر ويقيمون الصلاة ويؤتون الزكاة ويطيعون الله ورسوله أولئك سيرحمهم الله إن الله عزيز حكيم وعد الله المؤمنين والمؤمنات جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها ومساكن طيبة في جنات عدن ورضوان من الله أكبر ذلك هو الفوز العظيم وقال تعالى ولينصرن الله من ينصره إن الله لقوي عزيز. As a Muslim, we should all be having two specific concerns. One regarding our personal selves and one with regards to the entire ummah. With regards to our personal self, every person's concern should be, how will I protect my deen, my iman, my Islam till I leave this world? Protection of hidayat, protection of iman for myself, for my wife, for my children, for my friends, my community, and for the entire ummah. This has to be one way. That how will deen remain protected in the future? Second worry as a Muslim we have is with regards to the global condition of the Muslims. That what is happening in other parts of the world, in places which I can't see. What is the situation of the Muslims where they are languishing in prisons, going through difficulties, many are being killed, tortured, mercilessly and brutally murdered. What is happening everywhere? That pain has to be in our hearts. That how can this evil change and how can the Muslims now come up again? And Allah blesses them with that izzah and that honor which they had in the greatest of eras in the era of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiallahu. So one is with regards to our future as Muslims and with regards to our own iman. And one is with regards to the safety of the property and the lives and the honor of the Muslims of the world. And these are two concerns every Muslim has to have. Currently at the moment, both of these things are in great danger. With regards to iman, we see on the smallest of excuses, iman is slipping out of the hands of people. And with regards to the condition of the ummah, then we see that the ummah is in a very deplorable and sad state of affairs. One nation, small little group of people in the largest open air strip in open air prison in the world. And unfortunately, just a group of 2 million, but Muslims of 2 billion can't help them and do anything for them. They are going through such difficulties 6 months. And it's very good and all right to say that this government and that government and that government. Me, myself, and all of us sitting here, we are all in our comfort zones. And we don't seem to have any problem with what's happening besides the mere passing comment. This has happened, this has happened. Today what I wanted to mention, and I thought which I felt was most appropriate regarding the topic, that protect Allah's deen, Allah will protect you, is that there are certain a'mal that Allah has given us. And those a'mal will keep us on deen and will preserve our iman. And it will protect the entire Muslim ummah. As a result of our actions, the whole Muslim ummah can be benefited. We may be far, but we can have an impact. But all of this is based on the hidden system of Allah, which we can't see. If a person sends aid, that is physical help, and that is good, it's necessary. A person himself in some way or the other participates, that is good, that is necessary. But there are certain spiritual a'mal. And these a'mal in the hidden system of Allah are changing conditions everywhere. And if we hold on to and latch on to these amal, then our deen will be protected and the deen of the entire world can be protected. And the Muslims across the world will be protected. I want to just mention one. And related to the topic, protect Allah's deen. So in Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala advises us, nusrah. Allah calls us to helping His deen. وَلَا يَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهُ مَن يَنْصُرُ. Allah will certainly, without doubt, help that person who helps Allah's deen. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَقَوِيٌّ عَزِيزٌ. Do you think that Allah won't be able to help you in your small little problems? And won't be able to help the entire Muslim Ummah in their outwardly big problems? Then remember, Allah is the most powerful. Allah is Qawi, the strongest. There is no weakness which comes to Allah. Powers of the world become weak at some time. Plans and plots of the world, they are weakened in different ways. Different ideas and different objectives which people pass across, all of them are weakened. In Surah Fil, Allah speaks about it. Look at those people of the elephants. They thought with their huge armies and all of the elephants, they will come and raise down the Kaaba. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed how powerful and strong Allah is. Allah sent small little birds to raise them down to the ground. Those birds with small stones in their beaks and in their claws. And those stones destroyed the entire army of Yemen. Abraha, who came with so much pride, I will bring this Kaaba down. How Allah disgraced him. So Allah is telling us, you think Allah won't be able to help? Allah is Qawi, the strongest. Aziz, the most powerful. Nobody can ever overpower Allah. There is no one who can ever dominate over Allah. When Allah passes a decision, the whole world can try to go against it. Nothing is ever going to bring Allah's decision down. Now Allah tells us, what is this nusrat? What help does Allah require from the Muslim Ummah? وَلَيَنْصُرَنَّ اللَّهِ. First Allah mentioned His promise. His promise is He will help us. But on condition we help Him. How will we help Allah? الَّذِينَ إِن مَّكَّنَّاهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. Those people, when we give them a chance on earth, أَقَامُوا الصَّلَاةِ وَآتَوُوا الزَّكَاةِ. They will establish salat with the best of their ability. In their own lives and in the lives of everyone around them. They will give zakah. And every Muslim will ensure zakat is being given. وَأَمَرُوا بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَنَهَوْا عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. They themselves will have salat and zakat in their lives. They will command to good and they will forbid from evil. In dunya, Allah's help will come, wal-aqibah. And in the hereafter, the final outcome will be for these people. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching us here in this verse of Quran that Allah requires nusrat. Allah doesn't need it from us. But it is Allah's system that when we help Allah's deen, Allah will help us. And two things are being shown here. We have to become practical Muslims. And we have to make an effort that Islam is established throughout the entire world. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was sitting with Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu and giving him advice. A very amazing and interesting hadith, but we don't have time to discuss the entire hadith. One part of the hadith, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said that the nations before me split into 72 groups, meaning the Christians. And only one group was safe. At the end of their split, one group will gain salvation in the year after. And then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explained this group had three categories of people. One group amongst them were those people, they opposed the rulers and they were ready to make jihad for the sake of their deen and the deen of Isa ibn Maryam. They fought and they put their lives at stake. The rulers of that time unfortunately had power and strength. They caught hold of the Muslims who had made jihad against them. They killed them and murdered them. And they cut their bodies to pieces using saws and hacks. This was their condition. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then said, there was a second group. They remained in these lands, non-Muslim lands, amongst evil rulers and evil kings. But they gave da'wat to the deen of Isa alayhi salam. They also, after a period of time, were regarded as a threat. Then they were taken and they were killed. And their bodies were cut up into pieces with saws and hacks. And some of them were burnt with fire. But they made sabr for this until they reached Allah. And there was one last third group. They could not oppose the kings, and they did not have the courage to stay amongst the evildoers, the disbelieving rulers, and call them towards Allah and the deen of Isa alayhi salam. So they left their homes, they left those lands, and they went far out, and they became monks and hermits. And in their small little places, they continued passing their lives worshipping Allah. Allah speaks about them, وَرَهْبَانِيَّةً ابْتَدَعُوهَا مَا كَتَبْنَاهَا عَلَيْهِمْ إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ رِضْوَانِ اللَّهِ. This monasticism which many of them took up, Allah never made it fard upon them. Allah didn't make it compulsory, but they did it because they wanted to earn the pleasure of Allah. The sad part was that some of those very same people later on, when the truth came to them, then they were not ready to accept it. On the one side, it seemed like they had a pious figure from the outside. But as generations went on, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then said, whoever believes in me and he follows me, that person has fulfilled the rights of that worship of Allah which he wanted to carry out. Anyway, what I wanted to mention is that Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, commanding to good and forbidding from evil, is one of those a'mal by which Deen will enter into our lives, our own iman will be protected. And the iman of the people around us will be protected. And Allah's help will come in mysterious and amazing ways to the entire Muslim ummah. But this is some place where we are very weak. What is this? Amr bil Ma'ruf has different levels. Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said the first jihad is jihad with the hands, with your strength. But there is another jihad, and that is jihad with the tongue. And there is a third jihad, and that is jihad with the heart. That a person makes dua, oh Allah, change conditions. He starts making plans. What can I do regarding the future? How can I make sure my Allah is not disobeyed? And Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu said, when a time comes when the heart can't even make jihad any longer, then it no more recognizes good to be good, and it no more recognizes evil to be evil. Then the heart is turned upside down. And when the heart is turned upside down, then at that time that heart is completely polluted and it is barren, it's a wasted heart. So sins happen around us, evil happens. What is a Muslim's reaction to the evil? We have to do something about it. If we can't do the highest level of physically changing it through jihad with our hands, then we can also make jihad at least with our tongues, and at least with our hearts, and in our du'as, and in our plans, and in our minds. So on this, I just want to mention a few important aspects with regards to us, and those challenges that we face in this. Because this is such a thing, that as long as we do not stand up for the sake of Allah's deen, we're going to suffer the consequences. We'll speak about that later. First thing is, we want to protect our deen, we will have to become vocal and outspoken. Vocal in which sense? If I want to die as a Muslim, and I have worry my own children must die as a Muslim, first point I'm saying, then I have to start speaking about deen. This kind of thinking that we have, that you know what, I can't say anything, let everyone do as they please. Me, I'll obey Allah. But what other people do, I have no control over other people. So when this kind of thinking enters into us, then we forget that the day we stop calling to good and forbidding from evil, we ourselves are going to be affected. It's famous amongst the people of Da'wat and Tabligh, they say this, and it's an absolutely 100% correct thing. They say, if you are not a da'i, you will be mad'u. If you are not an inviter, you will be invited. You want to stay strong on your deen. If you want your children to stay strong on their deen, then everyone in our houses has to be made a da'i calling towards Allah. Every Muslim, whenever he sees wrong, he must speak out against it. The reason why sin has spread so much in our communities and in the Muslim Ummah at large is because no one wants to say anything. We don't want to upset the apple cart. And it must be said in a manner, in a correct manner, in a good manner. There is a way of giving da'wat, and we'll speak about that later. But the first thing is we need to understand, I need to speak. My son is neglecting salah, so I just leave it. And somebody, the imam of the masjid comes. He says, your son hasn't been in the masjid for the last few days. We say, Moulana, what can I do? My son, you know the youngsters nowadays, we don't want to be too hard on them. We can't force them anything. We don't want to make anything difficult for them. You know what, they must do everything with their own will. That same son, he slept through Fajr. We never said a word. But now 7:30 came in the morning, and we went to wake him up for school. We're paying huge fees for his school education. And he looks at us and he says, you know what, I don't feel like going to school. I'm feeling lazy. Now suddenly we say, hey, you know all that fees, you think it's going to waste? You think I'm just paying it for nothing? You have to go to school. He says, hey man, give me, it's my own life. You'll say, what's your own life? Now the belt will come out. Now suddenly, why there was a change? I'm not saying we should be hard. And I'm not saying that we should rule with the iron fist. I'm saying we don't even have the courage to speak any longer. And the moment we stop speaking, and our children stop speaking, and the people around us stop speaking, so sin starts, and it spreads, and it spreads. And the next thing, we are involved in the same thing. Why? Because in the beginning, we didn't have the courage to speak out. Moulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi Rahmatullah Alayhi said, whenever I see any weakness in my own self, then the first thing I do is I speak about it. I start giving bayan to that extent that this evil of mine comes under control. He said, I had a problem of anger, and his anger was for good reasons. He said, I gave this bayan, the cure of anger, so many times till my anger came under control. Now I had complete control over my anger. Why? I spoke about it. Moulana Muhammad Ilyas Rahmatullah Alayhi. One day he woke up from his sleep and he told his companions, his friends, those who were making effort around him, he said, give me a chance to sleep. When I'm sleeping, allow me to sleep. Many a times Allah is putting amazing aspects of knowledge in my heart during my sleep. So he said, Allah put one thought in my heart today when I was sleeping. He said, there is this verse in Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You were the best nation, meaning the era of Sahaba radiallahu anhu and whoever follows them thereafter. You were the best nation. You were taken out for the benefit of mankind. Your work was supposed to be that mankind was supposed to be led to Allah through you. And then Allah says, what's your responsibilities? You command to good, you forbid from evil, and you believe in Allah. So the outward tertib of the ayah seems to be strange. Normally you'll say first believe in Allah, then command to good and forbid from evil. But the ayah goes the other way around. Command to good, forbid from evil, and believe in Allah. So Moulana said, Allah put this thought in my heart, that the more a person commands to good, and the more he forbids from evil, the stronger his iman will become. Now it will be easier for this person to obey every command of Allah. We want strength in our iman, we have to speak. Even if we are not practicing, we have to still speak. Sahaba radiallahu anhum asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sometimes we're not doing every good action, and we're not abstaining from every sin. Must we still command to good and forbid from evil? Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, still command to good, even though you may not be doing every good. Or forbid from evil, even though you may not be leaving out every evil. A Muslim will have to keep on calling, and with this intention in mind that it must change me. One Jamaat in a certain area, Moulana Muhammad Umar Palanpuri Rahmatullah Alayhi used to give this example. Jamaat went to an area. They met one man. They said to him, you know what? You should perform salah. He said, I'm not going to perform salah. They said, no problem. At least every day you do us one favor, 5 people you call to the masjid. We're not asking you anymore. 5 people every day you tell them, come to the house of Allah, come perform salah. So this man took it up. He said, okay, that sounds a bit easier. Going to the masjid, wudu, salat, all that. But 5 people to tell them is not hard. So this man went. He went to the market, some friends he met. So he told one man, you know what, you must perform 5 times salah. Allah's word it was, that man was a 5 times musalli. He went to a second man, he said, you must perform 5 times salah. That man was also 5 times musalli in the masjid. 5 people he met, all of them were performing salah punctually. He wasn't performing salah. So this man now, he carried on, he went back to business as usual. First man was walking to the masjid, he saw him, he said, Assalamu alaikum, I'm going, huh? I said, whatever you told me, I'm doing. I'm going masjid. Second man came past, he said, I'm going. Third man came past. Now this man is feeling embarrassed. I'm telling them, they all going to the masjid, I'm not going. Within a few days, this man became a punctual musalli in the masjid. Why? It was just that he understood the importance of calling. It led to that change in the heart. Moulana Ashraf Ali Thanwi Rahmatullah Alayhi mentioned an incident. He said, there was a certain person who came to him. He said, my son is getting atheistic ideas. He wants to leave Islam. Why he wants to leave Islam? He said, I can't understand. He's in a Muslim environment. He was in some Muslim educational institute at that time, Muslim university. But he wants to leave Islam. So Moulana said, take him out. He said, what about his degree? What about his career? So Moulana said, if you're so worried about it, put him in so-and-so Hindu institute, Hindu university. Now this outwardly seems like from the frying pan into the fire. This boy here can't protect his iman in a Muslim environment. He's going to go there, how is he going to protect his iman? Shortly after that he came back, he said, Moulana, I tried it and I didn't understand why you're telling me this. And I was worried. But you told me, I listened to you. And amazing, I'm seeing what a change in my son. Suddenly he's become the best Muslim. He's practicing on every command of Islam. He is calling towards Deen. Moulana said there was a change of environment. When he was here, he was complacent. He went there, he started noticing everyone else is away from Islam. Now when everyone is away from Islam, he started trying to prove the superiority of Islam to them. When he started doing that, he's calling towards Islam. Now he has to become practical. The more we speak about Deen, the easier it will become to implement. We worried, our children, what's going to happen to their future? Make them die. Every child must be talking. We are worried. Many parents, this is their concern. My child goes to someone's house. There's a television screen on. What he does, he just sits down and watches. No, the child must become a da'i. When the child tells the person this is wrong, that child won't get involved in this. That child will repeat it so many times, that the child will become strong in that. We have a certain friend, mashallah, a caller towards Allah. His daughter went to her grandfather's room. Grandfather was living nearby. She went into the grandfather's room. She said, Dada, either I come here or this television screen goes off. Dada put the television screen off. Now I ask you, will that girl ever fall into the sin of watching television? She won't. Why? Because she herself has protected herself. She created barriers of protection around her. Every person creates barriers of protection around us. The more we talk, the more convinced we become about something. Today, unfortunately, our talk is only on dunya. When Allah's commands are broken, we have to have the courage to speak. This is the second point. That Allah gives us opportunities to defend Him. And use these opportunities. Many a times we'll find ourselves in a place and somebody will be speaking against Islam. There'll be some attack against Deen. And sometimes we may not be practical ourselves. Our own lives there may be certain a'mal which are missing. But always defend Allah's Deen. We'll find on the day of Eid, many conversations will come about. And in those conversations, somebody will say something negative about Deen. At that time, we have to be there to speak for Deen. If we won't, what happens? We become weaker and our iman weakens. And now we are no more ready to stand for the truth. Shortly thereafter, we'll find we fell into the same sins. When we get that opportunity, then at that time, always defend Allah's Deen. In the kitabs of history, there is one kitab, Nuzhatul Majalis. It has many incidents of the past nations, of the past eras. So one incident he mentions there, it was Ramadan. One Majusi, a man who was a fire worshipper, he was walking home and he saw his son in the market. His son was eating something in public. So this Majusi went and he slapped his son. And he said, how dare you? The Muslims are fasting and you are eating in public. They say when this Majusi passed away, somebody saw him in a dream in Jannah. They asked him, how did you land up here? He said, before my death, Allah inspired me with kalima just because on that day I stood up for the truth. That day I did what was right, I said what was correct. In our lives we have to think how many opportunities and chances come. And many a times people speak against Deen. We're sitting all together. A person takes out a cell phone. He wants to play a video. Somebody says don't do it. He says, hey man, what you acting so pious? That's the time to speak and say, no, what he's saying is right. We're in a gathering. And somebody says, that person there, you know how he is behaving, how he carries on for himself. At that time to come in and say, no, that is correct. Somebody wants to break Allah's commands, inheritance cases. You have an inheritance case. And in the inheritance case, everyone is saying, we want our share. And one man comes in and he says, look, Allah's command is Allah's command. That person is asking for their rightful share, give it to them. We may lose out. There's a certain person in our family. There was an inheritance dispute. Somebody was going to be deprived in some way or the other. So there was some way you're going to lose out. At that time, his brothers had asked him to to sign with regards to some aspect with regards to their trust. He must sign. And once he signs, his signature was the last signature, then they can take matters forward and certain things won't be now distributed in inheritance as a result of it. So he was speaking to his younger brother who was going to be at the losing end of the whole thing. And his younger brother said to him, look here, if you sign that, remember what you're doing is haram. If you sign it, you're going to be breaking Allah's command. And if you don't, you lose out. Maybe your children will lose out. But if you don't sign it, I promise you, Allah will keep your body preserved in its grave from the worms. That man has no idea. He just said it. It was spontaneous. This old man thought about it. He realized, you know what, my safety in akhirah is I don't go ahead. He held back. He didn't sign it. Allah's shan, he passed away. He was buried. His grave was opened some years later. His body was found intact. It was opened a few years later. His body was found intact. Then a mark was made on his grave. This man's grave mustn't be opened any further. Allah gives us opportunities. We in a wedding, and there's haram, wholesale haram happening. We see somebody standing up and walking out. Then at that time, the demand of Iman is, I'll also stand up and walk out. He taught me a lesson. Even if we don't see anybody standing. And on the other hand, the other way we can say is what we can do. We hear now why he's acting so pious. Who he thinks he is. He also commits sins. Our child comes to us. He says, Abba, Moulana taught us in madrasa, watching TV is haram. Now that day we can have one of two reactions. We can say, my son, what Moulana said is right. Let's stop watching TV. And the other way we can reply. And we can say, my son, these Moulana has got a lot of stories. They'll keep on telling you this is halal and this is haram. Who's going to listen to everything they say? And what we just did, we just broke their own child's trust on Iman and Islam. Tomorrow when we have problem with that child, we'll come to Moulana and say, Moulana, explain to him the rights of parents. But we the ones who taught him that the rights of parents in Islam are not important. Because who gave that command? Allah. When Allah gave one command, we told him, don't worry, break it. Now when Allah gives the other command, we expect him to listen. Second thing, whenever Allah gives us an opportunity, speak for the sake of Deen. Don't lose that opportunity. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, one of you should never regard himself to be too small and inferior. When he sees something happening which is against the command of Allah and he can speak, and then he doesn't speak. This is tahqir. You regard yourself to be small and inferior. Don't disgrace yourself by not speaking on the occasion that Allah wants you to speak. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, when he meets Allah, and he at that time he had that opportunity, he wasted his opportunity. وَقَدْ أَضَاعَ ذَلِكَ. Allah will say to him, مَا مَنَعَكَ أَن تَقُولَ فِيهِ. What stopped you from speaking on that occasion you had? And you say, oh Allah, khashyat an-nas. I didn't want to cause problems. Allah will say to him, إِيَّايَ كُنْتُ أَحَقُّ أَن تُخْشَى إِيَّايَ كُنْتُ أَحَقُّ أَن يُخْشَى. I deserved fear. I deserve that you should be worried. Allah mustn't be displeased. This worry has come into us. I don't want to hurt anyone's heart. I don't want our families to break. One pious alim from South Africa, he was in India studying by Moulana Masihullah Khan rahmatullah alayh. He came back South Africa, in his family no hijab, and unfortunately now, especially in Eid time, this is a major problem in the ummah. The day of Eid is spent, and in the day of Eid, whatever we gain from Ramadan, we just throw it down to the ground. How? There is so much intermingling, so much haram. The women are dressed in a very immodest and indecent manner. Men are coming to meet them. They're looking at them. The eyes is under attack. A person's heart is under attack. Everyone is mixing. Many times holding hands, kissing, hugging. And we're breaking Allah's commands. And it was the day of Eid. Eid means to celebrate. Celebrate what? Allah gave us tawfiq of obeying Him. Now do we celebrate obedience by disobedience? Like a person, he went to a drug rehab center. And after 6 months he comes out and he says, I'm free from drugs. So his family said, let's have a party. He says, but the main thing in the party is drugs. Now what kind of partying is that? What kind of happiness is that? You're celebrating coming out of drugs by drugs. We celebrate coming out of sin by committing sin. So anyway, now on occasions like this, what was it?
About a wedding.
So anyway, these opportunities come. And at that time, so this alim, he wrote a letter to Moulana Masihullah Khan. He said, I came back to South Africa, no parada. There is no segregation between males and females. Now, what should I do? I fear I will be breaking people's hearts. So Moulana replied and he said, Dil shikni ki fikr hai, aur hukam shikni ki fikr nahi hai. I'm shocked at you. You're so worried to break people's hearts, but you're not worried about breaking Allah's command. There's a way of doing it, and there is a wise way of doing it. But this is never in any way in our deen that I'll allow sin to happen, because I don't think I can just say anything about it. I'll just let it go by. Allah give us that strength, that courage. Whenever we get it, somebody plays a video in front of us, tell him, brother, please. There's some haram talk going on. Somebody is speaking about interest. Some time ago, we were sitting with some family members, and somebody, an alim, they brought up the subject of buying cars through the bank. And this is unfortunately a common thing now. There happened to be one car dealer who was sitting there. Perhaps he was guilty of this, and Allah knows best. Allah give everyone tawfiq to come out of it. Okay. So another man, to lighten the whole atmosphere, he spoke and he said, but now he knows this man is feeling uncomfortable. The alim spoke, not realizing that this man is involved in this, and he just spoke. And I knew the situation, but he just spoke regarding it, and this man was sitting there. So the third man said, hey, but nowadays to earn halal is very difficult. Allah. Now see that statement broke the whole basis of Deen. Allah's fadl, it was that there were some other ulama there. Somebody spoke out, and they at that time there protected Deen. That protection of Deen is what Allah wants. When we do so, we will find Allah's special help will come to us. At that time, on the day of Qiyamah, don't come in front of Allah and say, oh Allah, I was too frightened of the people. At that time speak and say, no, Allah's command is Allah's command. We may be guilty of sins, but what's right is right. We have to speak what's right. Teach our children, teach everyone around us, that whenever wrong talks are taking place, we must be the ones to say what is right. And maybe people won't like us for it. They won't. Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu said, my speaking the truth left me with no friends. He said it, he did it in the most perfect and beautiful manner. With wisdom and hikmah, he passed on the truth. But in the end, finally, people do become upset. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was speaking about Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, one of the points that he always taught, Luqman radiallahu anhu in Quran tells his son, command to good, forbid from evil, and make sabr over the difficulty you will receive after it. One sahabi of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he was a young sahabi when Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam passed away. His name was Habib ibn Khumasha. He was giving advice before he passed away. He said, when a person decides to make Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar, then make yourself ready to make sabr over the difficulty which you will receive. Everyone will go against you. And at that time, be sure that Allah is going to reward you very greatly. The man who is expecting rewards, when people now become funny with him, he won't worry about it. Be that person wherever we are, that we the ones calling to good. Third thing is that when you call to good, don't think it's going to waste. Sometimes we think if I say something, it will spoil the whole situation. Then after that, our relationship will be broken. Then, and no good will come out of it. Everyone will remain upset. So I'll share with you an incident, personal incident. My brother Moulana Musa, while in his madrasa years, or just after he had finished, came to Heidelberg once. He gave a bayan and he spoke about various aspects, but one of the things he spoke about was haram forms of earning. In the bayan he mentioned, by the way, he said, the selling of TVs, buying of TVs, fixing TVs, all of this is impermissible. But unfortunately it has become common amongst the Muslims. Allah's word, it was at that time in Heidelberg, from who we can remember, there was one specific brother who was quite close to our family. And this brother here would sell TVs, he would buy and sell, and he would fix TVs. And it was known, the whole area knew this. So he took it as a personal insult. And he came to our house, my father's surgery, and he called for my brother, and in front of my father, and in front of my brother, and he gave my brother a big tongue lashing. Gave him a big scolding. My brother said, look, what is right is right. I can't change that for anyone. There was another alim who was there, and that alim said, you shouldn't have mentioned it. It wasn't right, it wasn't appropriate. You knew this brother is like this here. So at that time, Moulana Musa didn't think of it. But it was a reality that this brother was the only man. Another alim said, you shouldn't have mentioned it. It wasn't the right occasion. And you should have waited with hikmat and wisdom at a later occasion in some way or the other. What we say with hikmat and wisdom, finally we never get down to doing it. So anyway, this happened. And years went by. This man is moving shop from one shop to another shop. 5 years, 6 years down the line, he made an intention in his heart, I am cutting off the sale of television screens. This is haram business. Some years later, after he moved into his new shop, one day I was there and he said, a few years ago I thought, why must I continue indulging in haram? So I decided to change it. Allah alone knows best, but in my understanding that one day somebody told him what was right in the masjid, even though he was upset about it. That one day had that impact on his heart. Later on, his son came to us with a complaint regarding his father. that my father is doing something which it's not a sin, but it does lead some people into sin. Even that I want to stop. His father said, then our shop will close down. He said, no problem. We'll move into some other field. But even that which is doubtful, I don't want to go into. Allah's wali, it was the father, son. A few weeks after this conversation, met up in an accident, both passed away. After they made tawbah of this, and where it started from it, one person spoke the truth. One person said what was right. Even though other people were unhappy, it will have its impact and its effect. Don't think that our da'wat is going to waste. And on this year, there's many things in my mind, but we don't have time to discuss it. A few years ago, a Jamaat came to Heidelberg from Saudi Arabia. Maybe they were from Medina Munawwara, if I remember correctly. So this Jamaat, this brother, he spoke to it was Ramadan. In i'tikaf, he spoke to the people, mu'takifin, I was also there. He said, I'll share with you an incident from Saudi Arabia. A man, wherever he goes, keeps kitabs on Islam in his backseat. Da'wah to Islam. He stopped by a garage to fill petrol. A man from Philippines, because they get them for cheap labor, a Filipino was there to fill petrol in his car. So he smiled at him and he greeted him. So the man said, what are you so happy about? So he said, Islam teaches us to be happy and smile at every other brother. So he said, oh really? So you follow Islam? So he said, yes. He went to his back seat, he took out the kitab and he gave it to this man. This is all his da'wat. He just gave it to him. The man took the kitab, this man filled up petrol, he left. And 3-4 months later, he came back to the same garage. So when he came to fill up petrol, he asked somebody who was there a few months ago, there was one Filipino worker who was working here filling petrol. They say, you'll never believe what happened to that man. Somebody came here to the garage and gave him a book about Islam. He opened this book and read it. He realized Islam is the truth. He embraced Islam. He learned how to practice on Islam. 3 weeks later, he came to us one day and he said, you know what? How can I go on living here in Saudi Arabia just for money? My family are dying as Christians in Philippines. They don't have Iman. I need to do something about it. He said, he went to the boss and he spoke to the boss and he said, doesn't matter, I'm cancelling my contract. I don't mind to lose the job. But I got people there who are dying on kufr. He returned back and already 30 people from his family, now in 3 months, 30 people from his family have embraced Islam. One small little thing. One man in Saudi Arabia working, he was a doctor. Lengthy incident, but I'm just cutting it very short. He was a doctor working in a hospital. He used to have many friends who used to come from other parts of the world for community service. They used to come there to this hospital. So he was like their guide. He's a local Saudi. He used to take them around. He used to show them things. And he used to become good friends with them. And at the end, when they used to be leaving, he used to have a big party for them and he used to give them a gift and send them off. Majority of his friends were non-Muslims. He's working in the hospital and people from Europe are all coming and America. So one friend from England came. He was finishing his time and he was going back. So he decided on our farm we'll have a big farewell party for him. And he said, I must give him a gift which he'll remember me with. So his friend used to like ancient artifacts, things which came from 100, 200 years ago. So he went, his father had some things like this. So he went to ask his father for one thing like this. And while he is speaking to his father, his cousin walked in. He said, I'm thinking what gift to give my friend. So his cousin said, why don't you give him a gift of Islam? So he said, I thought about it. And it was just like a passing comment. I laughed, I shrugged it off and I carried on speaking to my father. You know what, I want something that I can give him. The next day I went to the shop. And in the shop I went to buy the newspaper. I saw there was a kitab there, less than 5 riyals on Islam. He said, because my cousin said it yesterday, that one word his cousin said. He said, I thought to myself, you know what? If the kitab is less than 5 riyals, how is it going to harm me if I give it to him? So he said, I took it. Then I made like a big parcel for my friend. And I put the kitab right in the middle, inside, hidden. Like as if I'm trying to hide it because I'm feeling embarrassed. You know, he's going to see this here. What is he going to think about me? He said, I hid it like this and I gave him his present and he went off. I got married. I had children. Some years later, I received one letter. And the letter is written in English and I'm trying to make sense of it and it's not making sense to me. It's from one old friend who I knew many years ago. His name is Daifullah. He said, in the whole world, I don't know anybody by the name of Daifullah besides myself. So he said, now I started reading the letter and I'm seeing in the letter it's written. He's saying, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear friend. I hope you remember me. We were good friends so many years ago. I'll never ever forget your favor on me. At that time there, you had that farewell party. You left a book on Islam in my present. When I returned home, I read this book. And I wanted to find out more about Islam. There was a number there. I contacted those people. They sent me more information and literature. I read it. He said, I embraced Islam. On that one book, he said, that same book that I was feeling embarrassed to give him, I embraced Islam. He said, and after embracing Islam, I thought what name to keep. I said, I'll keep the name of my greatest benefactor after Allah. You taught me about Islam, I name myself after you. He said, now inshallah in the coming, he said, I went to an Islamic center nearby. I embraced Shahada. And I'm sending you a copy of the proof of my Shahada. Inshallah this coming year I will be coming for Hajj. And I hope we can meet here. He said, I put my head down, I was feeling so happy. But I was feeling so embarrassed. I was feeling so sad. On the one hand, one man embraced Islam, not because I did anything. I just put one kitab there. So small the effort. But what the effects and results are. He said, I'm thinking how many other friends I send, but I never give them the message of Islam. Why is it that we feel embarrassed to speak about our deen to everyone around us? Why is it we feel embarrassed to command somebody to salah when he's sitting in our house and he doesn't want to come to the masjid? Why is it I feel embarrassed that I must tell somebody to dress decently in my family? My niece, my daughter. Why I feel embarrassed about it? Why should we feel embarrassed that da'wah Allah has given it the potential? It will change lives, it will change destinies and futures of people. One man here just got one kitab and his whole life changed. And on what effort? He said less than 5 riyals. And this man got iman as a result of it. We think our efforts are small. That one word we say of good. لا تحقرن من المعروف شيئا. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, don't ever regard any good deed to be too small. That one word you say to somebody and it can have what a change. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, save yourself from the fire of Jahannam, even if it's by giving a piece of a date. And he said, if you can't even manage to do that, then at least say some good words. That good words will have an impact, and that will be your sadaqah jariyah. One man, his whole life thawab is going to come in your account. Just because you open your mouth. We have how many people working around us? How many times did we call them? We have people working in our businesses, our friends' businesses. Just to go and sit there and to say, brothers, Islam is the truth. Allah is one, God is one. He has sent so many messengers. The day of resurrection is coming. To give them a brief da'wat on Islam, just that much also. But unfortunately, we're all in complacency. Just life is passing by. And those who lost out the opportunity, they lost it out. We have to meet Allah finally. This is the third thing, that the da'wat will have effect. Don't think it's a wasted exercise. لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Allah is sending Musa alayhi salam and Harun alayhi salam to go and speak to Fir'aun. And Allah is saying to them, speak in kind words. Perhaps he will يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. He will take lesson and admonition. Tadhakkur means that gradually over a period of time, the message will hit home. Over a period of time, he will come to realize his mistake. Oh, yakhsha, or immediately he will give up his sin and he will fear Allah. Sometimes it's just this, that 100 people need to give the same message for something to come alive. And if those 100 people all remain silent, no deen will come alive. So this is the third thing. And the fourth thing which I wanted to share is this. Is that then as a Muslim, if we want to really reach Akhirah, make this calling towards Islam one object in our lives. That means my work in life is to obey Allah and to establish Allah's obedience in the world. When we will do this, Allah's help will come to the Muslim Ummah. Sayyiduna Abu Ayyub al-Ansari radiyallahu anhu. He is standing in the sufuf of the Mujahideen. One man is making jihad, all the mujahideen are going, they are proceeding against the Syrian army at that time, who were all Christians. One man rushes forward and he dives into the enemy. And he's killing people from all sides. Some people said, Subhanallah, this man is committing suicide, he's throwing himself to destruction. And Allah in Quran says, don't throw yourself into destruction. Abu Ayyub radiyallahu anhu said, you are giving a wrong interpretation of this ayah of the Quran. This ayah was revealed regarding us, the Ansar. He said, we helped Allah's deen and we made jihad. But when more people were embracing Islam and the helpers of Islam had grown. And at that time when Islam had become strong, we, the Ansar, started discussing between ourselves, without telling Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam anything, that now there are many helpers of Islam and many people to do Deen's work. So what we will do is, for the last 5-6 years, we have been neglecting our crops. We've been neglecting our businesses. Let us now stay in Medina and give some attention to our businesses. And let those other new entrants into Islam who are the helpers of Deen, let them make some qurbani for the sake of Deen. And if they do it, then Deen will progress. And at least our businesses and our farms, everything will come back into order again. For 5-6 years, everything is haphazard. We don't know whether we're coming or going. Every now and again, out again in jihad. Coming back, out again in jihad. We'll stay for a while and we'll look after what we have here. This verse in Quran was revealed to caution these people from the Ansar. He's saying, we were the ones. Allah said, spend in the path of Allah and don't throw yourselves into destruction. He said, what it means? He said, throwing yourself into destruction is when your only focus in life becomes now your business and your farm. You only worried about making sure your business progresses. And at that time there, you neglect jihad in the path of Allah. Then at that time you have thrown yourself into destruction. As a Muslim ummah, we are asking why we are in the condition we are in. But how many of us have made Deen our object? Zambia were having riots many years ago. It was a major issue in the country. The Muslims who were there they feared their lives. They were fearing that it's going to be a bloodbath here. A letter was written to the Markaz Nizamuddin Moulana In'amul Hasan Rahmatullah alayh, that we are in big trouble, make dua. Moulana wrote back, and his advice was only this much. He said, so sad you entered into Zambia with the intention of making business. Change your niyat. Be there in that country with the intention of calling towards Allah's Deen. Be there in that country with the intention of establishing Islam. If you change your niyyah, Allah will change conditions. They say when this letter reached, the people just in the markaz made an intention, we're going to devote our lives to Allah's Deen. What business we have to do, we'll do it. That's a necessity in life. But our goal and focus in life is Allah's Deen. Just the change of intention, and suddenly peace reigned throughout Zambia. And many people we've heard this from. People who came from Zambia. Just that one change in niyyah. And what a change it will bring about. Unfortunately, our goal in life, Abu Ayyub Ansari radiallahu anhu, look at the Sahabi. He was around 80 years old of age. But this lesson remained in his mind. He went to fight where he made jihad through the different parts of the Muslim world today. At that time it wasn't Muslim world. Till finally they came and they intended to conquer Constantinople, Turkey. Where is Medina Munawwara, the host of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Where is Turkey? He's moving with the army. The people on top of him, the leaders, the generals are youngsters. He's an elderly man, but he said, I will make jihad in the path of Allah in every condition. In the end, he became sick. They asked him, your final advice. He said, take my body. And as close as you can take me to their borders, take me. Bury me right at the edge of Constantinople, so that my body can go the furthest in the path of Allah. That was his idea. He was buried there. The Christians at that time, they came and they spoke to the Muslims and they said, we see you did something last night. You are burying somebody. Your people want to fight us when they're alive, they want to fight us when they're dead also. Because he came right to the border, he has to fight us when he's dead. They said this. They said he must have been a great man. The Muslims said, yes, he was a companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Christians said, you can go. As soon as you're gone, we're going to come to this grave and we're going to dig it up. And we'll take his body and burn it to ashes. The leader, the general of the Muslims said, if you dare burn this man's body, we will burn every single church from Medina Munawwara right till Constantinople. They said, leave it, we won't touch his body. Abu Ayyub Ansari radiallahu anhu, at around the age of 80, is making jihad in the path of Allah. Why? Because he just changed the object in his life. He understood, don't throw yourselves into destruction. Our work in this world is this. We have to practice on Deen. We have to bring Deen alive. When we will do this, what we will get. And I'll end on this here, inshallah. What we will get, Allah's special help and nusrat. Allah's special aid will come to us. Our dunya will be taken care of. So Moulana Musa was speaking to my brother a few days ago, and he mentioned to me an incident Mufti Rida al-Haq, Damat Barakatuh, mentioned. A Jamaat from Pakistan came to South Africa. One man there was a shoe seller, selling shoes. He said, I made intention to go out 7 months or 9 months in the path of Allah. My time came, and I was trying to make some arrangements for my shop. And I spoke to different people, and everything was just failing. And now the time came, you have to go. He said, I had enough to last my family for that period of time. But obviously my shop now, no income for 6 months, 7 months, 9 months. I knew it's going to be a very big problem. I left some messages in the area. I asked some other people to take care of it. I tried to do whatever I could do, but nothing came about, nothing materialized. So I went out in the path of Allah. And when I came back and I came to my shop, I saw my shop is in a terrible state. I was hoping somebody will have taken control of my shop. I'll give them a certain amount of profits. I'll keep some profits. At least business will continue. He said, nothing. He said, I looked at my shop full of dust. I went to go and start sweeping. I'm looking at my stock. My stock is all last year's shoe. He said, nobody's going to buy it this year. It's out of fashion already. So I'm looking at the stock. I know I'm not going to get any money of this. Even if I sell it below cost, people won't want to take it. And I'm thinking, what can I do? And I said, oh Allah, for your sake I did it. I went out for your sake. Oh Allah, you help. He said, just a few minutes later, one man drove past. He was an Arab man. He opened his window. He said, I'm looking for a restaurant. He said, no, this is not a restaurant. I got a shoe shop. The Arab said, you know why I'm looking for a restaurant? I got so much money. And I want this money to be used for food, and this food must be distributed amongst the people in sadaqah. So he said, no, sorry, this is a shoe shop. We got no food here. Then the man, he nodded. He said, oh yeah, you got a shoe shop. Hey, shoes are a good thing. Everyone needs shoes. You know what? What's the total of all the shoes in your shop? So he made an estimate. He said, it's about this much here. The man said, right, very good. Here's in dollars I'm giving you. And I'm giving you double also. You take this money. I'm giving you double. The second amount is for you to take the shoes and distribute it free of charge to everyone. So how much he was supposed to be paid, he got double. All he had to do was go and look for people he could give shoes to. How Allah helps the people. Our dunya Allah will set right. وَأُخْرَى تُحِبُّونَهَا نَصْرٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَفَتْحٌ قَرِيبٌ. Allah tells us, if you make the work of deen your object, هَلْ أَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى تِجَارَةٍ. Oh my servants, oh my believing servants, should I show you a business which will save you from the punishment of Jahannam? Believe in Allah and strive in the path of Allah with your wealth and with your lives. That's better for you if only you knew. What you will get, Allah will forgive your sins, and Allah will enter you into gardens under which beautiful rivers are flowing. And Allah will bless you with the most amazing and palatial mansions. Masakin tayyiba fi jannati adn. You will live forever in gardens of eternity, enjoying yourself. ذَلِكَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. You want success, that is the real success. Allah is telling us, we think we're doing business, rands and cents. We're making hundreds, thousands, millions. Real business in Quran, Allah is telling us, is this business. When you give yourself and make deen your object, and you use every opportunity to call towards deen, Allah says, besides that, we'll give you another benefit. Nasrum min Allah. Ukhra tuhibbunaha. Allah says it in such a beautiful way. Allah says, we'll give you another benefit. And this benefit you will really enjoy and like. Meaning Jannah, we all know we want to go. But dunya's benefits, when we get how a person enjoys. Somebody just gives him Eid, and how happy he gets, so much money I got. You know, this Eid, how much money people gave me. This person gave, that person gave, so much money. We get happy on small little things. Allah says, you'll get happy with this. Nasrum min Allah, will give you victory. وَفَتْحٌ قَرِيبٌ, we will give you help and we'll give you victory. We wondering why the Muslims are suffering wherever they are suffering. One primary cause Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us. Whenever sin spread in any community, and people have the ability to speak out against it and they don't, soon Allah will send a punishment which will afflict all of them. وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةً لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً. Beware of that fitna, that trial, which won't only affect the sinners, it will affect everyone. That when the punishment of Allah comes as a result of our doings, everyone is affected, because Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi Anil Munkar is left out. We're not calling to good, forbidding from evil. So if we want goodness in dunya, which we love and we cherish, then in commanding to good, forbidding from evil, and making this the goal in our lives. In the end of this, Allah says, O Muslims, why can't you be like the companions of Isa alayhi salam? Kunu ansar Allah. Make your goal in life, I'm going to help Allah's deen. Just like the Hawariyin said to Isa alayhi salam, Nahnu ansarullah. We are the helpers of Allah's deen. Allah is saying, like how they were rewarded, you will be rewarded. You make the same intention. My work in life is to protect and preserve and establish Allah's deen. One is Jannah in Akhirah. In these verses Allah is telling us. One is Allah's help in this world. One is Hidayat a person will get. Remember we were saying, you call towards Allah's deen, you make an effort for Allah's deen, you practice on Allah's deen, and you are proud of Allah's deen, you will get Hidayat, you will be the first recipient. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. Those who strive for our sake, we will guide them to our various paths. Allah will give us different roads of hidayat just because we made the goal in our life establishment of Allah's deen. And besides this great ni'mat of hidayat, Allah will give protection to everyone. One, our greatest fear is insecurity. Here in this part of the world, in Gaza, obviously to a far greater extent. If we want protection from Allah, Allah says, فَلَوْلَا كَانَ مِنَ الْقُرُونِ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ أُولُو بَقِيَّةٍ. Why weren't there in the past intelligent people, يَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْفَسَادِ فِي الْأَرْضِ, who could prohibit from evil when it happened on the earth? There was only a small group of them. After this, Allah says, وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ لِيُهْلِكَ الْقُرَى بِظُلْمٍ وَأَهْلُهَا مُصْلِحُونَ. Allah will not destroy any area because of their sins when the people in that area are making an effort to reform those sins. As long as we continue calling to good and forbidding from evil, Allah's protection is with us. The moment we make Deen second in our life and we turn our full attention to dunya, then at that time there we lose everything. I'll end on this beautiful hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, "Innakum ala bayyinatin min rabbikum." Mu'adh radiyallahu anhu narrates this hadith. You are on a clear path from Allah. Your deen is clear. Right and wrong is open in front of your eyes. Ma lam tadhhar fikum sakratan. As long as two intoxications don't come into you, as long as you are not intoxicated in two things, sakratul jahl wa sakratu hubbil aish. The intoxication of ignorance. I think I am so knowledgeable. I have a degree, but I don't know what Quran teaches. I don't know what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught. I can't read Quran properly. And I'm thinking I got a lot of intelligence, but that is only apparent knowledge of dunya. Real knowledge, this is ignorance. When ignorance enters a person and in the light of, it looks like he is very knowledgeable, he starts making judgments regarding deen. And he wants to make and form his own deen now. I don't think this is so important in Islam. I think this can be left out. These people have wrong understanding regarding what real deen is. In my understanding, and we go on my understanding, that is that sakratul jahl. When a person's mind is intoxicated with his own ignorance, was sakratu hubbil aish. And the second intoxication is the love of pleasures, the love of dunya. I want to live it up. I just want to pass my life. As long as I have enough food in my house. If Allah's commands are being broken, I'm not staying up in that night crying. There were those people in the ummah, when they saw somebody committing a sin, they couldn't sleep. One pious man was walking somewhere, he saw somebody committing a sin, he came home, he had fever. He went to the toilet, he passed urine, blood came out. Because his body couldn't take it. Somebody disobeying my Allah. Today, wholesale disobedience. Nobody even bats an eyelid. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam spoke about one area. Allah sent adhab. The angel came and said, "Oh Allah, in that area there is your certain pious servants. He has never disobeyed you for 1 second." Allah said, "Overturn that city. Overturn it with him inside. Let them all be destroyed." Not one day did his brow even shift. Did his forehead even change when he saw those sins being committed. It's not only about my piety, it's that deen has to come alive. In my life and in everyone's life. This effort we have to make till the day we die. If we want Allah's help, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said, listen to this, the hadith is continuing. He said, when this comes, فَإِذَا ظَهَرَ فِيكُمْ حُبُّ الدُّنْيَا. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam said first, he said, you are on a clear road from Allah. As long as these two intoxications don't trouble you, and as long as you continue commanding to good, forbidding from evil, and striving for the sake of Allah. He said, when the love of dunya, it encompasses and it overrides a person. ظَهَرَ فِيكُمْ أَحُبُّ الدُّنْيَا. Everywhere you look, you only see materialism. When this materialism becomes the goal of your life, then at that time you will not command to good. And you will not forbid from evil. And you won't strive in the path of Allah. You won't make deen your objective. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam then said, when this is the condition everywhere, those people who speak Quran and Sunnah, الْقَائِلُونَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِالْكِتَابِ وَالسُّنَّةِ, they will be like the first Muslims from the Muhajirin and Ansar. That's the reward they will get. One narration it comes, they will get the reward of 50 Siddiqeen, 50 of the highest level awliya. The Sahaba radiyallahu anhum asked, the reward of 50 Siddiqeen from after our era or people like us? Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, their reward will be like 50 of your Siddiq. 50 of your awliya. We can never reach the status of Sahaba because they saw Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That we can never get. But in thawabs, Allah is promising us so much rewards for that one small statement I made to support Allah's deen. For that one thing when one day I didn't justify my sin and I said what was right in the manner. We are all very, very happy. I call a spade a spade. But when it comes to Allah's deen, we're not calling a spade a spade. In Allah's deen, there unfortunately we have given everything up. Allah bless me with tawfiq. Few things we mentioned, and I'm just repeating whatever we said. In the beginning we spoke about we have to help Allah's deen. Allah teaches us to help Allah's deen. We have to establish salah, give zakat. We have to command to good and forbid from evil. Then we spoke about protecting our own deen. Whenever we get the opportunity, speak about deen. This will be our protection. Teach everyone around us to speak about deen. This will be their protection. Our deen will be preserved when we keep on talking about it. We understand its importance. Third thing we spoke about is whenever we get an opportunity, defend deen. Don't allow anybody to say anything against deen, even if we're not practicing. Allah will honor us in dunya and akhirah as a result. And the fourth thing is, don't think our efforts are going in vain. That small da'wah that we gave, in our own humble manner, with ikhlas, with kind words, but we said what was right. That da'wah will have an impact someday or the other. We will see changes happening in the world as a result of it. And if we don't see, Allah in Quran tells Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam many places, maybe we'll give you your death and you won't see. Or maybe you will see the effects of your efforts. But in the end, finally, you are all going to return to me. There you will see the effects, the results of your efforts. And lastly, what we spoke is that make it an object in our life. I am not a businessman. I am not just a father of a home. I am not just a husband. I am not just a boss in my business or a manager in my company. I am not just one ordinary person. I am an ummati of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. My work, my goal, my object in life, I have to live on Islam. I have to die on Islam. And I have to make everyone around me do the same. If we live like this, Allah will bless us with Jannah in Akhirah. His help and protection and security in this world. And Allah will guide us. And Allah will guide our families. And Allah will guide everyone through us. May Allah bless me with tawfiq. May Allah bless us all with tawfiq. That's one thing if it has to come right. The conditions of the whole Muslim ummah can change on this one thing. Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam was so worried. He said, if you will not command to good and forbid from evil, Allah will send punishments down on the ummah. Then you will make dua to Him and Allah won't even listen to your du'as. When we neglected deen just for the sake of my own family, my own friends, I don't want to cause any disturbance, my own comforts, my business. As long as my life can go on well, Allah bless us with tawfiq. And on this day, then I'll just pass on one last message that inshallah after the month of Ramadan, just 1 week after the month of Ramadan, meaning not the weekend after Ramadan, the weekend following that, there will be the ijtima which will be taking place in Lens. And one thing we have seen in our short little lives, that there are some people who made deen their goal and objective. And many of them are those who are linked to this what we would say this very noble effort, but very simple effort. Those people, we see them and really our hearts go out and we wish we could be like that. He's not worried about his money. He's not worried about his comforts. He leaves his home. He leaves his business. There are friends of ours who only work 8 months of the year so that they can spend 4 months in the path of Allah. When we look at them, we take inspiration. Allah bless me and all of us with tawfiq, that we can also make deen our goal in life. And we can keep this as our focus, that before I die, how much deen's effort have I done? How much of deen has come in my life and everyone around me? Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya'i wal mursaleen, Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Oh Allah, we are very weak servants. We have committed a lot of sins. Oh Allah, we are very complacent with our deen. Oh Allah, we think we are doing everything perfectly. Oh Allah, how many opportunities we lost. Oh Allah, how many chances you gave us. Oh Allah, to speak the truth, but we neglected. Oh Allah, how many chances and opportunities you gave us to obey your commandments, but we disobeyed. Out of your kindness, forgive us and help us. Oh Allah, guide us in every step. Oh Allah, protect our deen and the deen of our children and progeny till Qiyamah. Protect us and the entire ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Help the Muslims in Gaza and in Syria and in Burma and in Sudan and wherever else they are suffering. In China, oh Allah, those who are going through difficulties. Oh Allah, Ya Allah, whatever you have sent upon us as a test, oh Allah, We ask you to change the test of difficulty into a test of ni'mats. Oh Allah, we beg you out of your kindness to accept all of their qurbani and their efforts and their sacrifices for your deen. Oh Allah, we beg you out of your kindness to make us people who are ready to sacrifice everything for the establishment of Quran and Sunnah. Oh Allah, you grant us that himmat and courage. We are cowards by ourselves. You make us courageous, oh Allah. Oh Allah, you grant us that fikr and that worry of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Oh Allah, you bless us with your love. Oh Allah, you bless us with taqwa, that ability of giving up sin, oh Allah, that strength and that courage to stay away from it no matter how appealing it is. Oh Allah, no matter what condition and circumstance we are in. Oh Allah, that we go out of our way but we will never disobey you. Oh Allah, please accept from me, accept from all of us, whoever have sat here, oh Allah, accept from the entire ummah all of the qurbani and the sacrifices they have made throughout Ramadan. All those who are making effort for deen, accept from all of them, oh Allah. Make it a means of Islam coming alive in the world, Quran being established, oh Allah. Oh Allah, bring that time when Quran becomes the law of the lands, oh Allah. Oh Allah, in our country, change the people, convert them in mass, oh Allah, into Islam. Let them come into Islam in droves, oh Allah. Let us fulfill our duty towards the Muslims, towards the non-Muslims. Oh Allah, you have blessed us with this great gift of Iman and Islam. Oh Allah, never deprive us of this gift. And oh Allah, increase and spread this gift through us throughout the entire world. Spread hidayat in the four corners of the world, oh Allah, and make us a means of it. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Oh Allah, grant us Jannatul Firdaus. Save us from the adhab of the qabr, difficulties on the day of Qiyamah. Oh Allah, save us from disgrace thereafter, oh Allah. Oh Allah, grant us only ni'mat. From the time we die, oh Allah, let us enter into the most beautiful and wonderful life. Oh Allah, please accept from each and every single one of us. Oh Allah, grant us correct understanding, Allah. Oh Allah, and make us, oh Allah, move towards the direction of Akhirah. Select us for the work of Akhirah. Ameen, ameen, ameen. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wa salamun ala al-mursaleen. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.